Hi everyone and welcome to a new series on the channel. We have a short story today which shows the power of generational wealth and the importance of time when it comes to investing. Now for this story, we've got to take it back in time. Here we are on October the 24th, 1996. An article by the LA Times. Few knew she was wealthy until she left 98 million. She never had any children of her own, but Agnes Plum still liked to help children out. Even though she didn't have a job, she would sit down at the kitchen table of her modest ranch-style home in Studio City and write out $250 check here or a $500 check there for local children charities. So let's go back to the origin. For this, we need to go back as far back as 1906. In 1906, Will Keith Kellogg enters the cereal business as Americans' eating habits begin shifting from heavy fat-laden breakfasts to lighter, more grain-based meals. Now, sometime around founding the company, he convinced a man who was believed to be a close friend of his, Henry Plum, a lawyer, to buy shares in his new cereal business. Henry accepted and invested heavily into the business. A year later, in 1907, Henry's daughter Agnes Plum was born. Now let's kick it right back to 1995. In 1995, Agnes Plum is 88 years old. But what has happened to the Kellogg shares? Well, Agnes inherited the shares from her father and held them for at least 40 to 50 years. Due to two stock splits during her ownership in 1986 and 91, she amassed a huge sum of 2.6 million shares of Kellogg's. Agnes sadly passes away in October 95 from heart disease. At the time of her death, Kellogg's was trading at $37.50 a share. So what that actually meant was Agnes was sitting on nearly $100 million. To put that into context, that's more than Mike Tyson and Michael Jordan earned that year combined. And we all know how Mike Tyson and Michael Jordan was living off that kind of money. We'll soon see how Agnes lived her life, but let's not forget that the whole fortune consisted almost entirely of just shares in Kellogg's. That fortune is from a single equity investment, which is what makes the story quite unique. Now this is the part that blew me away. Now because Agnes held physical Kellogg's paper certificates, this almost meant certainly she was getting mailed out physical dividend checks. So imagine opening your mailbox to find a check worth $437,000. $437,000, and this is happening every 3 months. This graph shows Kellogg's dividend per share a bit more recently. Looking at this, if Agnes had passed down her full amount of shares to someone else, they would have been receiving over $1 million every quarter by now. So back to that big question, well, how did Agnes live her life? Well, Agnes lived modestly and happy in a tidy white house on Chiquita Street in LA. She never married, and she looked after her disabled mother until her death in 1960. Her hobby was collecting dolls. She had more than 2,000 dolls, all of them lined up on shelves in her home. In 1961, a newspaper described her collection as museum-worthy. You won't find many photos of Agnes. She only kept a photo of herself as a baby, and even her driver's license photo she tore up. One occasion was recalled by Agnes's hairdresser, in which she offered to take Agnes out for a special breakfast. Agnes just said, "Nah, let's go McDonald's." Agnes also made frequent charitable donations. Agnes's hairdresser also done Agnes's food shopping for years and remembers Kellogg's cereal was always on the grocery list. After she passed, Agnes's whole estate was passed on to 4 beneficiaries, each one receiving 22.5 million in her shares. Now, if the beneficiaries hadn't cashed in their shares, by present day today, they would have been receiving around about $350,000 in quarterly dividend income. Now, this amazing story really shows the importance of intergenerational wealth, and by planting a meaningful seed, how it can grow and support your family for generations. Agnes must have been educated by her father about the importance of holding on to the shares and the power of dividends. She was able to live how she wanted to, albeit not extravagantly. However, she was able to donate to causes she was moved by throughout her lifetime. So intergenerational wealth may not always be about money, but also about knowledge. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please share the story if it's inspired you, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks. I'll see you soon.